really fuck with this Pac sticker right here.
Yeah, that one's dope. You can have it.
You sure? You got
absolutely.
1,000 more?
Yeah, I got more. Right. Yeah.
Fucks with it, man.
Yeah, that shit is dope. That's what that's a real iconic still of him, you know, spitting at the fucking photographers or reporters.
Yeah, man.
This is the wrong shit.
Pac.
What the fuck am I doing? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Copy. Yeah, I put my notes, but I do it on my regular phone, and this is my old shit that I just use to play music in the background. So
damn. Yeah. That's your burner phone?
Yeah, you know, you gotta have two. Yeah. Word. Oh shit. Let's I feel like I feel loud. All right, yeah, let's get into it, man.
Right, let's go.
Peace. Welcome back.
What's up, man?
Mega Late Show, Secret House Against the World, episode 3, year 6. You guys know me, Robinson Mega. Mega Late Show is a Tokyo-based hip hop art and culture podcast out here in Tokyo, obviously. And before it was me and Late, but Late's been gone for like 2 years. So I'm just running things, getting it back to normal now. Consider tossing a like, subscribing, hit the bell for notification if you're watching on the Secret House channel. If you're listening to the podcast, go to the Secret House channel on YouTube, Secret House Against the World. You can see a lot of album reviews that I do with my man DJ L Spade, as well as my homie Jet. Those are consistent, and this is people probably watching it on YouTube more than listening to the podcast service now. But consider going back and checking out all the old episodes. We've had a slew of tremendous and talented artists. It's pretty much all in studio guests except for what Late was doing. But yeah, you know, I don't know. We've had like Ali Shahi Mohammed, Adrian Young, Marley Mall. You know, a lot of famous cats, Elder Senseis. Mark DeClivelo, all the dope cats, and it's all in studio, so it's got that organic feel. I highly recommend going back and check out some of them. It was a different time, Tokyo back then, pre-COVID. So a lot of us are really drunk. Like our Sky Zoo episode, we drank like a fifth of Hennessy, and everybody was nice and drunk on that one. Nice and fun though. Real conversations. And today I have the homie, tremendously talented mixed media artist and world traveler, international art bandit, Nelson Caban. Did I pronounce that right? Caban.
I mean, yeah.
I'm West Coast, so you know.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
That's good.
It's Caban.
Caban.
Yeah.
You got to put the. What is your ethnic background?
I'm Puerto Rican.
So
it's
okay.
Caban.
Caban.
Technically, yeah.
Okay, shoot. In the West Coast, we don't have that. We didn't have that many Puerto Ricans back when I was in high school. Yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Caribbean Mexicans.
Yeah. Tropical Mexicans. Tropical Mexicans.
Tropical Mexicans.
Yeah. I mean, I forget who I picked that up from, but it was one of the Mexican homies. He's like, oh yeah, they're tropical Mexicans. But yeah, you are tremendously talented and kind of acclaimed. Artist, mixed media. You do a variety of different mediums, painting, visual arts, and such. Can you give me the spiel?
So I do, painting. I work with wood. Pause. I'm not gonna do that this show. It's mixed media. I work with washi, wallpaper, whatever medium. You know, I was talking about using indigo dye. A couple of minutes ago. So whatever I feel can enhance whatever message I'm trying to come across in that particular work, I'm down to work with it. I've done bronze, I've done fiberglass, so yeah.
Yeah, I was scrolling through your Instagram page today, and it's just a variety of different things, watercolor. Yeah. Some of the newer pieces, I was like, wow, that's really tremendous. And of course, this being a podcast talking to an artist, it's a little bit different because I can't just like put on one of the songs that you made if you're, like an audio artist or something like that. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out his work. He's had a slew of really incredible pieces that have gone out across the world, and you're kind of a world traveler as well.
Yeah. I've been living overseas since 2007, so
okay, dang.
15 years.
On your website, it
16.
says like Paris, Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York.
Yeah.
Those are your 4 primary kind of pillars where you're usually operating at?
Well, I mean, Paris has kind of fallen off in the last couple of years, but yeah, like there was one point where it was just New York, Paris, Hong Kong, Tokyo. Okay. So everything else is in full effect except Paris. Paris is kind of. Was
that like a COVID type of?
No, like, you know, I was doing work in Paris like 2012, 2013. Like it was just a phase. You know, I had lived in Paris before. It was just I had a lot of people there, so it was just a thing. It's just you know.
And you're living in Hong Kong now.
Yeah, living in
permanent
Hong Kong.
resident.
Permanent resident, baby.
Hey, that's really dope. I would like to. I'll circle back around to that later. Regarding how you were able to get out there and what the type of criteria that you needed to meet for that, and also how you're trying to set up another camp here in Tokyo.
Absolutely.
But I did want to go ahead and highlight one of the, I might say, one of the larger notices of acclaim for you. You actually have sold a piece of your artwork to President Obama.
I did.
Word. Can you tell me about that?
Oh man, so back in 2007, 2008, everybody was like, all right, this is hope we're gonna, change we could believe in. Everybody thought like the black president was gonna revolutionize everything, close Guantanamo.
Right.
So I had moved a year before to Madrid. I was kind of working my way around Europe, but I was back in the States, and I kind of got caught up in that hype. And one of my homegirls was working in the campaign. So she was like, she was telling me for months, do something. And he was just like a candidate back then. He was like, he hadn't even won the primary yet. So I'm like, whatever, this dude from Chicago, like, let's see what happens. So I did a painting, whatever. And somehow she showed the image to his campaign manager. And he had said like, yo, like, where's this painting, right? I got a phone call. Literally, it was like 3:00 in the morning one day. My homegirl was like, can you be in Philly at 8 a.m.? So I drove Turnpike. There's a private airport behind Philadelphia International Airport. And like, I was able to meet him on his plane, like a week before he was elected.
Okay. Wow.
So this is what happened. I got on the plane. I had this painting. So, everyone's looking at it like, what the hell's the painting, right? Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is like, nobody was like, oh, maybe he mixed something in the paint, right? Because you can put whatever in the, something you're not supposed to in the paint. Right. But, that pulled up, I had a painting. People were like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. But then they saw from the image, they're like, oh, okay, we see what it is. So long story short, they had to go. They were going to another part of PA. So I had 10 minutes on the plane. He saw really quick. And then they were like, you got to get the hell off because we're leaving. Right? So basically, the thing got taken, right? Like the painting got taken. And I think like 3 days later, I got a call from like an unknown number. And he was like, thank you very much. Da, da, da. He sent me like a signed campaign poster to Nelson, thanks, Barack Obama. And then one of his other people were like, how much? Right? Because then it's like, it has to be like official. You can't just like bribing up a president or something like that.
You're not allowed to give them presents like that, right?
Not like that. No.
Okay.
Because I could turn around and say like, it just doesn't look right, right? So it's like, okay, it's like like he purchased something, so how much? So I definitely didn't say what I feel like it should have been. Because like I said, like they told me to get the hell off the plane and leave it there. Where are you going to say no?
Right.
Right. It's like, I mean, I got it for free up until that point. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's how it worked out. And, I had a friend who lives in the same neighborhood in Hyde Park in Chicago, who's like a really well-known lawyer, who's known them since he was like a governor in Illinois. He's like, oh, your painting's in his house, his personal residence.
Wow.
Because he lives in Hyde Park next to Farrakhan and all that. So, yeah.
That's pretty wild. I mean, you got to meet the second black president. No, that's dope.
Yeah, man.
Politics aside, in my thoughts on Obama's legacy or whatever, I do recall at the time, man. Like I was working at a reggae dance hall in Texas, and it's owned and operated all Jamaicans, all Caribbeans, all types of people in there. That's where I kind of met the most Puerto Ricans and like Afro-Latino peoples in my entire life. And we were there partying, and I was bartending the night of the election. Oh, wow. And man, when they announced that he won, like you could just see the optimism in the room was like people was just excited like things would change substantially.
Absolutely.
Motherfuckers was in there like we get reparations.
Like the big payback on some James Brown. Yeah.
It's like at the time, I supported Barack Obama in that election. I voted for him because I was like, well, universal health care is a strong material thing to help all people. You know what I mean? I don't need like some means-based legislature like these people get a little bit, those people get a little bit more. I was just like, yo, give it to all of us. And things didn't necessarily glow that way. But at the time, man, I would have been pretty fucking high on just meeting the guy.
Yeah.
Because he was the first one that seemed like a real person to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that a lot of ways, like Michelle also grounded him in blackness, and like it was like, yo, that's a real black man. Like even though he went to like private schools in Hawaii, but it's like, yeah, he's from Chicago. He's a real dude, and man, that's tremendous. Congratulations to you on that.
Yeah, man. I mean,
that's nuts.
Like you said, like things didn't kind of materialize the way people thought, and I mean, there's been periods of time where like the signage that he signed to me, I've taken it off my wall and like put it backwards. Like I didn't want to look at it, you know. So I mean, that tells you kind of what I thought really quick. Like you said, like universal healthcare, all these things went out the window. But yeah, for that period of time, it was what it was, and that moment, I was definitely hyped.
Word.
Because who else gave him a painting?
Yeah,
and got a
bro.
signature,
I mean,
right? So like all my homies were like, how? And
people, you know, it's hyped to just be on his year-end rap list, you know, playlist or whatever. But like, if your piece is hanging in his house, that means it's actively a part of his life. You know, like you see all these pieces in here. I look at them every single time I come in here, and so that means that he's looking at a piece of artwork that you made with you know all the artistic intention that you had, and he sees a beauty in that and a value. And I would you know, like straight up, if somebody even worse than you know Barack had, you know, of that level, it's kind of just like, wow, I'm in there, you know what I mean? Like my art is appreciated for, you know, a variety of reasons. And yeah man, that, to me, when I saw that, because I actually heard about that, I met you maybe like 5 or 6 years ago
at the Wu-Tang birthday party.
Yeah, at Daisha, Daisha's been on the podcast. She used to do a lot of things in the hip hop community out here. You know, shooting music videos, working with artists, promoting, and she's just one of the illest people that I know. And we were at her 36th birthday party, and we, you know, I didn't know that you were like an art cat. I didn't know that you were an artist cat. I just assumed like, oh man, you know, like he's a New York cat, which I've been around a lot. We was drinking, taking shots, having fun. You know, I remember they lined up like 36 shots or something on the counter, crazy. And we was drinking, and you know, this podcast I know because you know, it's associated with your personal brand. Like you as an artist is what you sell, and so I'm not going to get into like the goon maneuvers or anything like that, you know. But yeah, it surprised me because you are a cat that just last night when we were chilling, you know, I said, yeah, I hit the gym, you know what I mean, 2 weeks I'll be straight, and he was like, you know, hit the gym for 2 weeks, back on chisel, like the ghost face line. I was like, yo, like if looking at your artwork, I don't really see that side of you in there.
You know,
you're a New York cat, though.
Oh no,
you're a New York cat.
See, there's a difference, right? Because like some people from New York, but upstate or like grew up in the suburbs. I didn't go anywhere till I was about 17, 18 years old. Like, you know, I would go like to Florida in summer, see my grandmother, or maybe Puerto Rico in there. But like from the date of my birth to the day I graduated from high school, went to college, I only knew New York City. You know, so it was like all of that era from the 80s to the 90s. You know, I graduated high school 2000. So from 82 to 2000, whatever was happening in the city, in Manhattan, in Harlem, where I'm from, was my upbringing. You know, like Mason, Cameron, they went to my high school and everything like that. They were in the basketball team and everything. So it's like, that was just the everyday. So, yeah, I think, you know what, like, it doesn't always translate like in Asia. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes like fetishized in Asia, right? So they wouldn't understand like the purity that it comes from. You know, like I met Ghostface when I was in college. Actually, Daisha did too, because she used to work Temple Radio, Temple University. We both went to Temple, me and Daisha. I met Ghost there, but they went to Macau, him and Ray, in 2014, and I sang Method Man's part, "Protect Your Neck," with Ghost and Ray on stage.
Oh shit!
And that's probably, and I have it somewhere. I'll send it to you later. The grainy ass video.
That feel a little bit doper than. Well, I'm having a picture.
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
For me, you know, a simple hip hop head.
The dopest thing I did in terms of art was there was the Toyota Cup. They used to do it every 2 years here in Tokyo, and FC Santos, which was Pele's team, would come from Brazil to Tokyo. I did artwork for FC Santos in 2010.
Oh shit!
And I was on like TV Globo, which is the Brazilian like big broadcast channel, NHK, and like that to me was, and then that's when Neymar was like first coming into his own. So like that to me was much more important than like even the Obama thing.
Sure.
Because like I'm a big Pele fan.
Because it's more directed. It's kind of more directed to your actual heritage, your lineage, and things that
like I speak
that
Portuguese.
mean something
I've been
to your
Brazil.
family.
Yeah, exactly. So like that to me was like, oh, you did it for like Pele's like hometown team.
It's wild.
Like
I mean,
FC
the greatest
Santos?
ever, right? That's what they
Yeah.
say. I'm not a soccer head, but I mean, I know Pele. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So to me, I think that to me was more important, right? Because I was out here, I was hustling, I was grinding. I found somebody who used to work, who played soccer, a Brazilian cat, used to play in Brazil. He had a restaurant in Yokohama, and he was like, yo, the team is coming through, do the artwork for the team. And I was like, out of love, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm not Brazilian, but he was like, you know, I mess with you, and like, you're the perfect one for it. So it was like, it was just an alley-oop that I'm just eternally grateful for. So like, I didn't necessarily deserve it because I'm not Brazilian, but I went hard for it. You know what I'm saying? Like FC Santos, like let's go.
Yeah, you know, but there is also kind of a cultural kind of binding from people of the diaspora who, you know, there's indigenous people in Brazil, obviously, indigenous tribes and people, but there's also people who were, you know, products of the slave trade and triangle trade, and so I can imagine that would be of like great importance to you. One of the reasons that I, you know, like a lot of the New York cats that I know that come out of art were also into graffiti. And that's like, you know, I was going to ask, like, did you ever write graffiti when you were younger? Were you interested in that?
So my high school is actually the Graffiti Hall of Fame.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Which high school is that?
It's Central Park East Secondary School, SPES, right? So there used to be a show called 106 in Park.
You're talking about the BET show?
Yeah, one street over is 106 in Madison. It's like Park and then Madison. There's a big courtyard that goes the whole block, and it's the Graffiti Hall of Fame. So every May, they would come in like. So I remember meeting Cause back in '98. You know, and thinking like, who the hell's this white boy, right?
Yeah, right.
Because for me, it was like, you know, I had watched Star Wars, I had watched Wild Style. So for me, like Don D. White had just died that year, right? So I met Frosty Freeze, rest in peace. First time I saw Crazy Legs, Martha Cooper and stuff like that. And I'm like 15, 16, 17 years old, right? I saw Cope, of course, T-Kid.
Cope was just out here like yesterday.
I saw Neil.
That's wild. I was like, why would you not come hit us up and be like, yo, Cope's downstairs?
See, I didn't know. So I was like, hey, Carlo was here and stuff. So like, I remember they used to have a store in Canal Street called Bomb the System. All this stuff. So I would always go there, and like, I got introduced to like Dame and Lumit and like these German cats. That were like killing in the late 90s.
I know Lumit. If you see the graffiti piece that I have on my back, like I was trying to do 3D Lumit style back
so you know Lumit.
Yeah, when I was 16, Lumit
so
is
to
fucking
me,
ill.
like the late 90s, I'm like, this is crazy, right? Like playing with space, dimensions and stuff like that. So I think for me, I grew up later, so I missed that train era, right? So it didn't translate. Like I felt like if I try to be part of it, I'm faking the funk because I'm not bombing trains.
Well, you know, Ed Koch and Giuliani had really cleaned up the New York subway system and cleaned up New York in a lot of ways that graffiti was not as explosive and radical during our youth. You know, it was like it's like a generation or two before, but
absolutely,
Well, you know, one of the things like despite, you know, you like your work not having like wild style hands, you know what I mean? And you're doing kind of like you know, fine art type of shit, you know, watercolors. I notice it like in your work. To me, it elicits a very vivid connection between people, land, and culture. And a lot of the pictures that you're doing are like working class, slice of life, almost seemingly mundane snapshots of people, but it captures this really to me, and it might sound a little bit pretentious, but I like to do. I love art. Like I in all facets, you know, no matter what it is, if it's dance, if it's visual, if it's musical, and for me, like there's a beauty to your work that I have a hard time putting my finger on, but it kind of reminds me of the type of covers that I would see on like some of the black authors that I would see their books like Water for Chocolate or something. It feels like you have such a deep connection to these. I don't know if these are people that you're painting, if it just springs from your mind, but they seem very tangible and real to me when I look at your work, and that's got to be a part of your heritage and the traditions. Like a lot of the pictures, like, there's the soccer ones, right? There's the soccer ones, which obviously, but
well, I love the World Cup. That was the
Right.
World Cup. So I was
Right.
loved the Brazilian team. So that's what that series came from. Just like.
But even ones where it's just like it's like somebody outside, or it's like a snapshot. I feel like there's there, and this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you too and have you on the podcast, because I know you. I know you as like the cat that we drink, we talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talk mess, we talk, everything funny or whatever it may be. But I haven't really got to delve into kind of the impetus and the inspiration for your art. Like where is there like a historical lineage of artwork that you followed? Like you studied art in school, I imagine, right? Like you went to like an art college or?
I didn't. I went to college for finance.
Okay.
But in high school in New York, like I've always been good at art, right? So even in 4th grade, I would do like drawings of Ninja Turtles, and I would sell them for like a quarter, 50 cents. And it got to the point where like kids couldn't afford like little snacks in lunch. And parents were complaining like, yo, my kid came home with a drawing, but he's hungry.
Right. He got Donatello, but he ain't got no quarter water. Right.
So like my friends were like, the teacher's like, hey, I mean, you can't run a business in 4th grade, hustling kids. So I think what happened was drawing was always the way to differentiate myself in school. So I wasn't the tallest. I couldn't bowl the best. I played baseball, whatever, but I didn't really, push into it like my parents and my grandfather, who were amazing at baseball. But drawing is like where I stood out, right? And I think we all kind of want to find our niche, especially in high school, right? So I won like the Picasso Award in high school.
Oh, word.
I was able to do like these special programs in Manhattan at this place called Cooper Union. So all my tuition was paid for like 2 summers to go to art school.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's why I kind of like refined it and honed it and say, okay, I can make this a career. And what happened was my senior year of high school, I needed an internship. So there was a local artist, James de la Vega, who was like killing it in Spanish Harlem back in the 90s, right?
I recognize that name, but I couldn't.
He would do like these. He would do like these chalk drawings in the street, become your dream, and he would like do things in tape and then spray paint it, and then remove the tape and leave like outlines on the sidewalk and everything, right? Like huge, like 10-foot, 15-foot pieces, and just like bring art into the city, right? So he was in New York Times, he was at the Met, and all this other stuff.
I'm sure I'm familiar with his work because the name's really ringing a bell. I just can't place a finger on it. But
so I was able to do an internship with him, right? So I saw the business of art, him setting up a show. He did a mural in like a big museum in Fifth Avenue, New York. So I'm 16 years old. I'm helping him out. I'm up on a ladder, and he tells me, yo, come down, meet this guy. He's this old man, right? Ask me a couple questions, blah, blah, blah. I go back on the ladder. He's like, yo, you know who this old man was? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, it's Holland Collar, the art review guy from New York Times. And then like that Sunday, my name was in the New York Times.
Oh, shit.
So like being 16 and like seeing your name in print, like that was a magical moment.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think from that moment on, I always saw like making marks on paper or canvas or whatever as almost like a ritual, like a prayer, right? It's like there's intentionality in what you're trying to convey. And I think no matter what the subject matter is, I'm always trying to convey my intentions. Like this I'm trying to, like you say like, oh, I do like middle class, whatever, or just like,
I'm sorry if that sounded limited.
No,
but
but
yeah.
Because I think, why would I do highbrow art when they already have so many more platforms for this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like if you think of like old 19th century like French impressionist paintings, is like people at leisure having picnics, on the river, with lace and frills and stuff like that. I was like, okay, like their history is already celebrated because that's what's valued in society.
Right.
But there's real poetry in like the grit and the grime and just the joy, right? So like I've been to Brazil a couple times. Most of my friends are the ones like in the favelas, right? But there's such a joy to life that's missing closer to the beaches. People who are lawyers, who have money, who just lack a joy of life. So it's like, what makes you get up in the morning? It's the joy of life, right? So I think that's what it is. I want to capture the joy of life in a static moment, and it's so hard to do. Like I wish I could do like movies. I wish I could do poetry, because it's like I can tell you exactly what I want to tell you or show you. When it's a painting that's mute, that's really difficult.
Sure.
So I got to do it with imagery and color, you know. So that's where the color comes in and stuff like that.
That's really interesting, you know, especially talking about how, 17th century art, like back in those days, all the art that people received and all the art that was considered great was decided by the upper class society. You know, like what you're doing is not actual art. These folklore songs is not art. High art is classical music. What your paintings are not considered high art. This is what high art is. And now we've progressed so much as a society that I especially appreciate that a lot of and it's not like it's a 2020 thing or something. It's been going on for at least the last century. There's so many kind of artists who are shining and getting notoriety who aren't from these, like, coming from the San Francisco art academies and things like that. And it's pretty spectacular that you've been able to transition from a life in finance to transition to a life in art without kind of taking that traditional path. I assume that you say you go to school with Cameron, you're around the corner, you see these people who are amazing. All your peers around you, everybody, your OGs are telling you, like, yo, that's Crazy Legs, like, do you know who that is? Cameron did that. There must have been, like, it must have been aspirational to you to just see that and feel like, yo, I just talked to this old man and I'm here. It's like, I can do this type of shit. When did it kind of click for you that, like, you know what? I'm not gonna be a money nigga no more. I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna be a finance person. And I imagine you still, play the market and things like that. But
absolutely.
you're an art cat. Like you wheel and deal art. You create. That's the way you express yourself. When did you decide that was what you wanted to do?
Well, I'll say this real quick. I still play the market because I hate to see my works considered commodities, right? But I'll answer your question. But like, the business of art is so much different from the creation of art. It's like night and day, and that's what always rubs me the wrong way. When did I see I can make it happen? Right. Well, that internship helped in high school, right? Because I saw the possibilities. I saw someone who was Puerto Rican from my neighborhood making it, right? Doing work in museums, New York Times, Time Out New York, like someone who's like reachable, right? Because you see celebrities on TV or stuff like that, and it's like there's such a distance, a barrier,
it seems
right?
unattainable.
Like, because you don't have a personal dialogue with them, right? So to actually know people and see people that you can hang out, break bread with, and see how they maneuver, it gives you that kind of hope. But I think for me personally, probably that Obama thing, because I saw people's reaction and I saw people's perception change, right? My art hadn't changed. It was the same art from the day before, but it was people's perception of like who likes it, right? And I'm just like, okay, that's what first put me on to show me like it really is like a popularity contest, right? Like, of course, like skill has a lot to do with it, but it's really, people don't know what they like. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you walk into the restaurant and you tried one thing, you're just going to order that for the rest of your life, right? You need the chef to be like, look, this just came out, try it, like push your horizons. That kind of made me first see like, okay, you can make this happen, but you're going to have to play the game. If you want to do it long term, if you want to survive and make a career off of it. That's kind of what was the tipping point for me. And luckily that was about less than 2 years until I had like started becoming a professional. So it was relatively early, so
that's that. I mean, shout out to Obama for giving
at least for that.
At least for that. Yeah. Not the drone strikes. Like, you know what I mean? We're not rocking with Guantanamo Bay, but but that's the tricky thing. Like, there's always these contradictions. And you were speaking about not wanting to turn your art into commodity. Now, I've created art, and also my politics kind of align me with ideas about the creation of art and the commodification of art, and just the commodification of everything, kind of the neoliberalization of branding yourself, you becoming a brand, and everything becoming for sale. Now, when you're working in, this medium, and especially being as worldly as you are, having a camp set up in Hong Kong and trying for Tokyo and working in Paris, these are outside of places where the type of person that you are flourish. You know what I mean? Like even me, like I don't know much about Puerto Rican art. Of course, I have a different proximity to it than maybe the average person in Hong Kong. But you not wanting to commodify your work and working in these markets, what type of, I'm trying to see how I can phrase this. What type of adversity, or it just kind of tell me about that experience of creating art, ideally for, I guess maybe not even ideally, for people who are so far removed from kind of your similar experience in the world that you come from. Is there an issue? You mentioned fetishization earlier, and that's a big thing for all black and brown art across the world. So like, give me some of your thoughts. I didn't eat today, so I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, and also we're drinking, but yeah, do you get what I'm kind of saying? Like, what are some of those hang-ups? Like,
I mean,
what is the issues?
Like, I run into that a lot, especially in Hong Kong, right? So I'll say this: it's like there's McDonald's all over the world, right? But like the menu in France is different from here in Tokyo, right? So you have to kind of like cater to the local market, right? To their sensibilities and what they like. Hong Kong is really tricky, right? It's very hype beasty, right? And I mean, that's where hype beast is located, right? So people kind of run with trends, right? They don't really give a shit what they think for themselves, right? It's like whatever's hot is fly, very poppy, like they run with it. I tend not to make work for people in Hong Kong. As sad as that is, I don't really. It's just my base is like where I make the work, but it's not for the local market. Like recently, like those wooden portraits I've done that you see on my IG, I've made some of them dealing with local issues and just my observations, or like, different neighborhoods have different vibes in Hong Kong, and there's certain Cantonese phrases that are very poetic. So it gives me a lot of imagery I could work with, especially when it comes to like women and dating and how they treat men. There's some funny ass phrases like like the recent one I did is called like Sao Bing, which is like she's collecting soldiers. So it's like, it's basically describes a young woman who has a bunch of men that like, one gets her laundry, one's her boyfriend, one like does this. She just collects soldiers to do things for her.
Oh,
I'm like, dope. That's kind of
yeah, that is kind of like, go ahead.
So I'm just like,
shout out.
So yeah, there's certain phrases in Cantonese that are just like crazy like that, like funny. So I'm like, all right, I definitely have met a couple people along the way in my life who like signed me up to be part of their army. I didn't even know I was part of it. I'm just like, I'm getting the dry cleaning while she's with her man or something. I'm like, oh man. Yeah. So I think Tokyo, I'll say this, is definitely the art market is a little bit more sophisticated. People like what they like. They don't care what someone else tells them to like. I just think in Hong Kong people tend to love like traditional Chinese ink work.
Okay.
They really don't like a lot of color. It's not really feng shui. It doesn't really harmonize with like their aesthetic in their house usually. It's very jarring. It's very like in your face. It's very present. It doesn't fall into the background. Kind of like, Japanese like interior design. It kind of fades in, right? But yeah, like I'll say this, Asia, especially Japan, makes me a better person. So I can create better. Not necessarily create for them or this market, but I'm a better me. I'm a better me. And of course, the thing in Tokyo is like all the washi, all the markers, the paint, it's top class. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, Japan really does value how can I say this? Craftsmanship
Absolutely,
and intention.
yeah. Yeah.
Japan's really good for that. Obviously there's contradictions, with both places, but I spent a lot of I didn't s- a lot of time. I spent about a month in Hong Kong, and I loved it for its lawlessness, man. But yeah, like was it really different? What made you want to go to Hong Kong? Like, how did you pull that off? Last night, it was I think we were talking to Scheme or Hero King. And you were saying that in order for you to set up out there, you had to have like $100,000 in the bank account just to get a permanent residency and be able to open a business. That is
No, to sponsor your visa.
To sponsor your visa.
You can open up a business with about 2,000 US.
Oh, okay.
But because you can open up a business and stay your ass at home. But to open up a business and then want yourself to be there, that's where the capital requirement comes in. So yeah, it took a while. It took about almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I'll say this: I took a one-way ticket to Hong Kong. I was in a part of my life where
One-way ticket.
It
Fire.
was the end of my 20s, and I was doing goon maneuvers. I'll just say that, right? I had a show in a museum in New York. And all the women I was seeing at that period of time in my life, they all came to the show. And even though there was open relationships, women don't want to see each other. They don't want to know who the others are.
Yeah.
Well, they figured out who the others were that night. And
shout out to Goon Maneuvers. Hashtag Goon Maneuvers.
And
the vibes.
like a week later, a bunch of my friends were coming to China for Chinese New Year because one of our good friends had just started teaching English. And it was Chinese New Year. So she had like close to a month off because mainland China, they shut down for like a month.
Yeah.
So a bunch of my friends were going. She hit me up and she was like, yo, you're being an idiot. Come figure out your life. You get a 3-month visa. You got 90 days to stop being an asshole. So I went to Hong Kong, but I really went to China.
Okay.
So I connected in Hong Kong, and like right after the flight, I took a ferry to the mainland. I had mad fun, right? I needed to come to Hong Kong to renew my visa because I only had 2 entries to China. And I got stuck, like you said, you get stuck for like a weekend or 2 weeks. You're like, yo, this place is, like insane. Like Blade Runner. Or something,
yeah,
right?
I was planning on moving out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
so
was.
it just hooked me. And I'm like, okay, all the contracts are in English. I can get a apartment with no visa.
Mm-hmm.
It's very un-Japanese in that way, right? Where it's like you could
former British colony. So
so I was able to get a bank account with no visa, like off the strength that I had a Citibank one in the U.S. So I'm like, okay, like I was able to like get myself in there, and then once you start having bills in another place, a cell phone account, you kind of got to figure out how to live there.
Right.
So that's what happened. It just like I kept growing my presence there. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to legally be able to stay here? Because what if I fly back to the country and they don't let me in and I left my heater on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Can you deport me, but can you let me turn the shit off
Yeah,
first?
yeah.
If I burn the whole building down? Yeah.
I left the air conditioner running. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
in 3
It's hot as
weeks.
hell. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it was. It was no intent behind it. It was just a gradual snowball.
That's some real Forrest Gump feather, kind of like floating turbulently but gently. You know what I mean? That's dope. And
so
how
that's
did you
what
get
happened,
to? How did you start coming to Tokyo? Was it because of you had relations like with Daisha? Daisha was coming out here because wasn't she living out here at the time?
Yeah, I mean, so I first came to Tokyo in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So both me and Daisha went to Temple University.
Bro, your 20s was so much doper than mine. I had
my 30s
no,
were trash.
Okay.
Right? People just like, you get better when you're in your 30s. No, my 20s were like legendary. All 10 of them.
I mean, I had fun, but I never left the country. I went to like Mexico. I went to Tijuana. And that's not really going over.
I went to Brazil when I was 21. I was doing South Beach at 20. Japan, 04 vintage Roppongi Japan.
Oh, that's
right?
really
So it's
living.
like,
you're really living like one of the best lives, man. I'm a little bit
that's what I'm
envious of
saying.
how
And
dope that is.
So it started from like Brazil and Miami 20, and then it ended moving to Hong Kong 28, 29. So kind of, and then my life has been whacked since then. But I came out here in 04 to do a study abroad. Because same way like Daisha did Temple University in 02, the Japan branch, I did it in '04.
Word.
So I've been coming to Japan now 19 years.
Okay.
So not necessarily that I fell in love with it in '04, but like the city, there was something that like grabbed a hold of me.
It's
right?
kind of live. Yeah, it's kind of.
It was, and it was like a safer New York. You know, like people that fuck with you really fuck with you, right? Not everybody's the warmest. Tokyo could be hella cold, but like when people look out for you, they got your back. So like I really appreciate like I had a core group of friends who like I had met, had a stood in contact with, and yeah,
man, and I know you got a good group of friends because I know so many of your friends, and they all good people to me too. You know what I mean? Like you and I, we've known each other for a long time, but we like. Every time I see you, it's all love. It's like, shit, there's Nelson's back. What's up, fool? How come he didn't say some shit? What's going on with Los? You know what I mean? Like, that's usually how it is. And Tokyo's real special about that, man. Like, and you're trying to maybe set up another base camp here in Tokyo right now? Okay. Well, do you think that the Japanese people's perception of your artwork will vary tremendously compared to what would it be called? Hong Kongians? The Kongians, like Kowloonians. I don't know. What do you call Kowloonatics? Yeah.
There should be a rap group called Kowloonatics.
I'm sure somebody out there doing it. They got like face tats out there now, right?
Yeah. They wild now with the tattoos and shit like that.
Yo, out here in Ikebukuro, which for people that don't know is like the fastest growing Chinese community. So we have like mad Chinese cats. The cats out here you see with neck tats, the women with tattoos is all Chinese folks. Like they're really like living,
they go full sleeves, like
some of them look like growing up, like I didn't know back in those days, like people did not just have tattoos, like you didn't have like a face tat unless you were like only face tats I saw when I was a kid were like teardrop tattoos. It was like if you see somebody with neck tats, it's like, oh, this person a little bit shifty, you you might get stabbed by this person. Nowadays that's not necessarily the same way. Like you see like Lil Xan, and it's just like this like frail little white kid with like more tattoos than me and all my family members put together. But the Chinese cast is really on some like hip hop shit. Like by hip hop shit, I don't mean hip hop. I mean like black popular culture shit. Do you feel like it's a different vibe? Like I want to know what the differences are. Highlight some of the differences. What is the train like? Japan and Hong Kong.
Oh
what
my
is
God.
like? What is the food like? What are the people like? What are the ladies like? Maybe we don't have to get to the ladies necessarily.
I thought this wasn't a goon podcast.
I mean, I think they've been a couple people have been urging me to start a Goon Maneuvers podcast because when we drink, we tend to get on these type of things. But I'm here with my wife and daughter, and I don't necessarily want her to be subjected to the violence that I've commit and been, attacked with in my life. But you don't have to go to the Goon Maneuvers, but what are some of the differences? Like what
maneuvers are the funniest though, man.
Goon Maneuvers are the funniest.
I'll say this. Tokyo and Shanghai to me are like cousin cities, not Hong Kong. Hong Kong is like Osaka. It has that inferiority complex. It has, Kansai Ben is on that straightforward shit like Kansai people are. But it's not East Capital, right? It's not Tokyo, right? It's not Tokyo though. It's Osaka food. So I feel like Hong Kong, it thinks too highly of itself. Like it's like the UK, right?
Sure,
UK still like, oh, we're the best. And it's like, yo, all right, go to sleep, old empire. Like, all right, it's like, okay, grandpa, you were great in the 40s. Like, calm down.
Right.
I think Shanghai, Tokyo's futuristic. Shanghai is like right there, man. Like it's like the Jetsons and shit.
Is Tokyo more futuristic than Shanghai? Because I was disappointed with the futuristic aspects of Tokyo. Like when I see Shanghai, I feel it look a little bit more like Blade Runner than Tokyo does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely more neon. I think it's kind of like how you see like if you look at America back in the days, like in the 20s and like all the cranes, like the roaring 20s.
Yeah.
Shanghai has that feel like we're up and coming. It's the richest city in China. It also feels like we're never going to be Beijing because we're not the capital, but F them anyway. They're from the north. Like they're like chill Southern cats. Okay. They're more like Cali. Beijing is like New York. Like Shanghainese women are like, we're the prettiest. We're known to be the prettiest. We win every fucking beauty contest. We don't give a fuck about Beijing.
Word.
Yeah. So I would say this
disagree
like
with them.
Shanghainese, like if you want to compare Tokyo and Shanghai, like I think like Taiwanese, Shanghainese, and Japanese women are like top.
Yeah,
If you
I like
Asia,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I never suspected that I would ever end up like overseas. I kind of just fell into all of these things because, like I was telling you last night, like I'm not a college graduate,
Yeah.
and my 20s were filled with like dumb shit, like violence and all those things. And luckily, I spiraled out of that type of stuff. But you know, I have traveled the world. I did have a little bit of success when I was in the States and made some money, and it afforded me the opportunity to travel. I'm not very well traveled, but man, I fucking loved Hong Kong. I felt like when I was in Hong Kong, I felt like, and this is not necessarily the best way to view a place, but I felt like, man, you know, I could if I stab somebody in the street, I could probably get away with it here. I felt kind of like there was a lawlessness. You know, the first night that I was there, my homie King Bacchus, he picked me up from the airport, and immediately we went to like some type of. It wasn't a nightclub. It was more like a bar. It was like a bar with dancing in it and shit. Because it wasn't huge or anything like that. People were dressed like you would be at a bar, and his wallet was stolen. Like somebody pickpocketed his wallet right there in Hong Kong. And that was the first night I was there, and I was just like, yo, that sucks for you, but I feel kind of like, yo, that's live. Like me, you're not gonna catch me slipping like that. I keep my wallet in my front pocket, if anything. Like I'm not gonna get caught slipping. You got caught slipping. This city's not gonna do that to me. I felt like it was dope. I fucking loved. I don't remember all the places I was at. I know like LKF, Long Kwai Fong.
Long Kwai Fong.
I was in a, you know, when I was out there, I was bouncing around to like I went to like the 100th floor building and to the Giant Buddha, and I can't even remember all the things I did, but junk boat rides.
Oh yeah, junk boat is cool. Like
is junk boat like something y'all do all the time?
I mean, yeah, when it gets hot, it's junk boat season. But you know what? Like, look, I've been there 12 years.
You kind of tired of
After a while, yeah, it's like that.
I've been here 10 years, but I'm not tired of Tokyo
that
yet.
Dirty ass harbor water. It's like, all right, man, I ain't getting in that dirty shit.
Yeah, you can only
man.
see the Bruce Lee statue like so many
times
times before I
man.
give a fuck about it.
The light show at 8 p.m. with the lasers. It's like, come stop burning coal, man.
It's like
every
all right.
fucking night.
Yeah, Batman jumped off that building. We don't care.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah,
someone else knocked this one down. It's like, you got it. Like, cool.
So you would prefer to live in Tokyo then? Of course. But how's your language doing? Because I know you can speak a little Japanese. I know you can read Japanese.
Yeah. You saw me at the restaurant the other day.
Yeah, he was freaking it. It was like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'll take a little bit of the, you know what I mean? That maguro. Yeah. Put a little
avocado.
Spice in it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Mix it up. Bring it over here immediately. Right. No, yeah, you can freak it. So do you speak also, what is it, Mandarin?
No, Hong Kong's Cantonese.
Cantonese.
Yeah,
Can you speak a little Cantonese then? Obviously.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you speak Spanish, English, Japanese, Cantonese. How's your French?
My French is pretty good.
Bro, you are
my Portuguese. My Portuguese sometimes is better than my Spanish.
Bro, you got 6 languages under it, but
like
you're a real Renaissance.
Because Portuguese is easier to speak than Spanish.
Okay.
With the conjugations and everything. So like, you know, when you don't practice, you just get lazy, right? So it's just like, you know, like
you got to freshen up the barcode.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you gotta like, you know, be up to speed and everything like that. So yeah, my Portuguese is pretty damn well.
Bro, you're a really worldly cat, and I didn't really get that from you when I met you. All the times we just be drinking and shit, we just be like, word. You know what I mean? We get like most of the times I'm around you, it's usually like a musical event. So we kind of connected on like, yeah, fucking, you know, this is dope. Like music is dope. Daisha is a huge Wu fan, and that's where we connected. And I'm also a Wu fan myself. So man, that's really incredible. And I have to say that your story is really kind of inspirational. I'm not a person that aspires to do any art, but I like that you were just able to fucking, like, you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to do art. And then now you're like, you're amazing, bro. Congratulations. Shout out to you.
I think what's funny is like my practice is personal, right? Like you go into a studio and only certain people see the product, right? Gallery or a private client. Versus like a musical artist, they go to the studio and then it's released, mass produced, right? So it's like, yeah, when you see me out at an event, unless I'm like live drawing or something like that, I'm not working. I'm networking. I'm you know, shaking hands and kissing babies, but me saying what I do in an event where you don't see what I'm doing is just like, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, art is visual. You need to see it. Even if you see it on my phone, it doesn't translate to what it is in person. So it's like, I gotta befriend people and say, yo, I'm doing an event. Please come through. You know what I'm saying? Like there's food and hors d'oeuvres there or something like that, or drinks and like you have to literally see art to appreciate it. You got to come through and see it for yourself. That's hard to do when you're running at night and just meeting people like at a bar or lounge or an event, you know? So like, yeah, people, I've known people for hella years and like, they're like, oh, he's just around. He's an artist, but have they ever seen my work? Well, unless you come to the studio or go to my show, which might be in some city overseas abroad, then like you're not really gonna.
That's a part of you that is kind of, it's not as forward facing as a lot of the rest of your personality. Yeah, I mean, because like you can't
be rah make it work. You gotta like go into yourself. You can't be like, yo, son, you're like, who you talking to?
Yeah, right. Like, yo, bro, we trying to drink. What you talking about? Like fucking watercolors. Yeah.
I mean, you know, while I'm painting, I'm listening to podcasts on YouTube and burning incense. Your motherfuckers want to have a seance with me in the studio for 10 hours? No. So it's like,
I'm really trying to center myself so I can put this fucking art together. You know what I mean? It's like drawing a sigil. It's real ritualistic.
It's like, can y'all shut up so I can mix yellow and blue?
Properly, right?
You assholes. I would be no fun. So it's like it's different from where like you could go with your homies and they're writing poetry or doing music, and you could be at the kickback drinking and whatever. It's like you can't do that around me making art because you're gonna be distracted. I'm gonna put the shit down. I'm gonna want to join you.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? So like my practice is really solitary.
Okay.
You know, and I think that's the balance. Like you see me and I'm out, but then when I'm not out, I'm not out. And I won't be out for a couple of days. Like I really need to like discipline myself. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always the same way when I was creating art. Like as much as my personality is kind of extroverted, I feel like that's kind of a reaction just to the environment I grew up in. Like you couldn't be quiet all the time. You always had to jump in, otherwise you'll never be heard. And so but whenever it came to creating art, like I've got to like go into the forest and lick my wounds and figure out how to put this shit together. Yeah. So, word, man. I'm really glad that I get to have you on the podcast and share your work because I have known that you were an accomplished artist since probably the day after I met you the first time. They were like, "Oh yeah, he's fucking dope. He's an artist." And I was like, I didn't really get that at all when we was reciting fucking Supreme Clientele lyrics. You know what I mean? But like, I always tell people, and I tell people to listen to podcasts. All my friends are dope. And I would like to kind of transition. You're back all the time, so if people have other questions, we'll have you back on. Maybe we'll get the homies on. We'll have a different type of podcast. Okay. But first,
that'll be fun.
First, where I'll put your contact information, your Instagram and such in the show notes. But where can people find your art? It's probably Instagram's the easiest way, or your website.
I think Instagram is the best way because it's very visual. It's a visual medium, so people go there and they want to see images, and that correlates to artwork. So my Instagram is Caban Ichiban, CABAN_Ichiban, ICHIBAN. And the reason why I put Ichiban is because the first time I heard about Instagram was in Japan. So I thought it was like a Japan-only app, like Line, right? So it was like, all right, Ichiban Caban, it kind of like rhymes. So I just stuck with it since day one. And then I realized, like, this is for everybody. The whole world is on Instagram.
Yeah, word. I thought it was a Japanese joint too. Actually, my shit is Megadeth. Yeah, it was like, I didn't know. I just was trying to freak your Japanese sound. But word. Yeah. I would like to transition to something that's like, it's still personal and about you, but I kind of want to know, like, like I've been saying a few times, we recite Wu lyrics together. Obviously, you grew up in New York, Cam and all these cats. But like, what kind of hip hop music do you listen to? Are you still actively listening to a lot of hip hop music, or are you into what are you listening to right now?
I mean, I'm kind of like the old head, right? So I still listen to like late '90s, early 2000s. Like I would put Supreme Clientele on. Like
I love Supreme Clientele. Yeah, easy.
But my favorite is probably Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah, you like Tekashi?
I
was gonna say, we almost.
I got my New York instead of my.
I was gonna say, I don't hate on cats like I had Ramsey's on, and Ramsey likes like Casanova and shit like that, right? Like hardcore New York shit. And I'm just like, I don't really listen to those type of cats, and I definitely don't listen to Tekashi 6ix9ine. But when I hear his music, I'm like, I understand why people like this. Yeah. But I would never allow myself to listen to this music because the message, first off. And secondly, like he just seems like a sucker. Like we had the plug to interview him on this podcast when he came to and I was just like, I don't want to do it. Like I don't really, like I'm not a person that's like fishing for likes or trying to like oh, if I got him, then people gonna watch it more or some shit. I didn't give a fuck about any of that. So I was like, I don't want to do it just because I like. And this is before his whole snitching controversy or whatever, which I don't give a fuck about in the first place either. But yeah, I don't. So you say you're an old head.
Yeah,
so
old
do you
head,
listen
man.
to like Makami,
Nah.
Al Divino,
No.
Rock Marciano?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Ka.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Depends
Ka's
on-
music is a lot
Yeah.
like an audiobook sometimes. Like he
Yeah.
don't got no beats. It's just like him talking
Maybe
about
on
like,
like a rainy day or something like that.
Yeah, Ka is a little low-key
I gotta
mad
be in the-
depressing.
I gotta be in the mood. Yeah.
you into the Griselda Cats?
Yeah. I fuck with
They
Griselda.
all right. Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of that like that old New York, like maybe some like MOP or some shit, but
You know like
those
early
like, those
Griselda.
like grimy stories, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Early Griselda reminds me a lot of like Wu, because the beat production they would do is like simple loops, no drums sometimes. And like Conway is just a dope writer. He's dope at writing. And Westside Gunn is kind of more like he's like if you just took like Ghostface ad libs and made a rapper out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like hype in your face
and raise the pitch up a little bit.
yeah. And I like all those cats. I have to admit that I'm getting a bit tired of what they do because it's just so similar and they're so prolific putting out art all the time. But I do appreciate a lot of those cats. I'm an old head too, but I've been listening to new contemporary artists all the time.
Yeah.
You don't fuck with Makami? Are you familiar with him at all?
Not really, no.
Can I play a song from
go
Mock
ahead.
and see? So let me get an impression and see how you feel about Mock or you might do you know ST Knack?
Nah.
He's like a Puerto Rican cat and like he's super
From
New York. Yeah.
New York?
Yeah, he's a New York cat and he's low key, he's hilarious. He's a super goon. It's not like it's not some educational rap like yo. And I imagine I think that he's probably also God body because he inserts a lot of the slang terminology into his writing. And let me play you some ST Knack and see if you fuck with it. I like to kind of subject people to things and share music. Let me see. I know I was just listening to Knack recently. Hold on. Let me play some ST Knack.
Tattoos, stars in the sky and on the skin, you know what I mean? We only do this shit for
Yeah, this joint is called Knack Magellan by ST Knack and a cat named Michelangelo. I don't know Michelangelo, but I imagine he's the producer. But Knack is kind of dope.
Drop the yacht in the water and break the champagne bottle on it. I'm on the hill, Bob Carmen, Wallace Far Muhammad talking Islamic. Ganja weed always hydroponic, niggas demonic. Drop bombs, that's the timing. Israeli armor, man, Sonic. Make Sonic champagne and
He like a real spitter, but obviously a New York cat, right?
Yeah.
I've not done any of the homework. I don't know if he's actually a New York cat, but when you hear it, it sounds unmistakably East Coast.
I mean, it kind of sounds like West Side Gun a little bit, like
Sure.
just like that draw. I don't know if it's a city. That might be like upstate New York, like Buffalo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in Buffalo, but I don't
yeah?
know anything about Buffalo. Yeah.
So you from the East Coast then?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I told you, like, some people. My father was, he was born in a reservation in Florida, but quickly after his father died, his mother sent him up to New Jersey to live with other families. So my father grew up in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
And so but it's Newark, New Jersey in the 1950s. You know what I mean? My dad was born in 1941, and so he don't got like a real strong like red man New York brick city accent, but he's a Newark cat. And my brother-in-law is also Newark too, and I picked up a lot of kind of my slang and sensibilities from those cats and also East Coast cats. So a lot of people be like, yo, Mega, you sound like you from New York or the East Coast.
Yeah.
But like also I don't know anybody from the East Coast that says hella. You know what I mean?
I say hello, but that's because I've known Chase for like 12 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bay Area
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
And I didn't say hella until I moved to the Bay in 2002.
Yeah.
And back then, nobody was saying hella. It was
Yeah.
just only Bay Area cats. I go to other parts of Cali, and they'd be like, "Oh, you must live in the Bay because you saying hella." Now, I guess hella is hella popular.
Yeah.
But word. Let me play one more ST Knack joint.
All right.
Maybe it's a little bit weirder, but it is also. I think that was kind of perceptive for you to say it kind of reminds you of West Side Gun, because I do think that this is a part of that kind of subgenre of hip hop where it's like you listen, the drums are kind of not pronounced, they're way in the back, very soft and subdued. It's a lot of lyrics and it's a lot of ad libs, and it's just, you know, like braggadocio type of raps too.
Yeah.
So let me see. He gets weirder though. Let me see.
Kilometers, Oxycontin monitors, Salt Bay, carbon tight, nigga. Fuck you. Karma like the Buddha.
Karma like the Buddha. Yeah, he's ill. I do like SC Nack a lot. Have you heard Makami?
Nah.
Okay, I'm gonna play one more Mach. I'm gonna play a Makami joint, which Mach is also similar in the same vein as the Griselda Cats, I would say. But he was also doing it before, and he used to collaborate with the Griselda Cats before they blew up, and they had a splitting off because one of the cats he works with, the God Fahim, I guess he had kind of a falling out with West Side Gun. Mach went with his homie and went the other direction. But Mach's music is a bit different. Let me I'm gonna play. In fact, let me just pull it up. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Conductor. This actually has West Side Gun on it. This album is called Pray for Paris or Pray for Haiti, and it's executively produced by West Side Gun. This is where they came back and became friends again. But Makami kind of reminds me of Jay-Z in a way, because he likes to drop a lot of art shit. Like if you listen to this verse, he's like Julius Nabel.
I've heard this song before.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought it was a West Side Gun. Like I associated it with that. It's on my West Side Gun like playlist on Spotify.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like this track. It's really good. Makami's dope. Like sometimes his first bar is like Julius Nabel near Van Gogh's grave, and he's talking about a piece of fucking fine art. You know what I mean? The piece of art is called Near Van Gogh's Grave, and it's like I do
That's
like it.
Ill.
Yeah, it's kind of fire, and it's less kind of pretentious as like shouting out Basquiat. Everybody knows Basquiat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm looking at the album cover. It's Basquiat painting.
Yeah. But it's hard, man. Yeah.
Shout out to
Basquiat. Yeah.
My bad.
Shout out to the God, man. He's tremendous. When
I'll say this. I found out about him in '99 through my internship.
Okay.
It was the first. Also, when you talk about like what inspired me and pushed me, he was like Puerto Rican and Haitian, right?
Yeah.
Also from like New York. So like that was a way to be like, all right, he's just like you. You can do it.
Yeah.
So even before like it became like a fucking brand.
Yeah.
Basquiat was like that dude from like '99, not like whatever fuck people doing with it nowadays.
People
so,
found out about him in like in the late aughts, like 2007, as Basquiat kind of became more of a cultural phenomenon. I feel.
Well, I think his father before he died kind of started whoring out the brand.
Sure.
So
you can buy Basquiat shirts from the Uniqlo.
Yeah.
Now and
Once
like
that happened, it was like, all right.
You know, Basquiat is an interesting he's an interesting individual because, like, when I found out about him, he was associated with hip hop, but I associated him more with like new wave and punk because you know back in the late 70s, early 80s, those like punk, new wave, and hip hop were all kind of flourishing together as these counterculture higher art forms, and Basquiat was like one of the heads. And like you know, being a graffiti cat that liked graffiti, you would hear about Basquiat, but I always was like, I like Doze Green, I like Cope, I like Scene a little bit more, and I didn't really kind of see the significance of Basquiat, but also I realized like Basquiat's artwork is tremendous, but it took people who were kind of the elites of society to kind of say, oh, this is good. This is really great. And it's so unconventional and uncanny. But I mean, he's still like the fucking God. Like he's still dope. And
but I think if you see the movie, that's the thing is like a lot of young cats who go to our school want to be him, but it's like, do you want to burn out at 28, die of an overdose, and be lonely and not fuck with your friends at the end of your life? Because the reason why you see me at shows and events and not with my artist friends is because I hate artists.
Oh yeah.
because you know what? They either want to kill themselves or they're doing well and they're pieces of shit and they don't want to fuck with you. And that's dead ass. And I know I burn every fucking bridge I probably had. Like, it is what it is, right? It's like, I'll say this. I'm glad that I had a balance of like a business background or not going to art school, because it gives me a sense of levity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps my ego in check, right? Because you think, well, after the Obama thing, I could be like, yo, fuck, F you, whatever, right? But I still like mentored people. I still was very accessible. People still got my number. Like, if people call me 10 years later, text me, I'm still be like, yo, what's up? Everything good? How's family? Like, I'm consistent no matter what's happening in my personal life, because I separate the two. And I feel like the thing is, when you put your name on something, you think people like you and that they don't like the commodity. They like you because now you got money and you're the it person. They don't give a fuck about the name. They care about the brand, and people get that twisted and they let it go to their head. And like, I just can't deal with that, such a stark dichotomy. Either you're suicidal, you haven't sold nothing in a year, or you sell out every show and you're too good for everybody. So it's like, who the hell are you? What's the core of what you are?
Yeah.
The market determines who the fuck you are. So I just can't deal with that. I can't
feel
deal with
that.
people like that. You know.
You know,
So,
like speaking of like artists who are making like considered to be like elevated forms of, you know, traditional styles, like Anthony Lister was out here, and he's a pretty, like, he kind of comes from a graffiti background. He got his kind of he cut his teeth on like the mural scene, like creating like fine art on you know, fucking street walls, and he's a graffiti artist at heart. He came out here. I thought it was dope. He got caught fucking writing graffiti out here. And
I was gonna say, like,
he got caught writing graffiti, and I was like, oh, that's fucking ill. But then, like, you know, I don't want to put anybody's name on it, but one of my homies who was rocking with him out here was like, yo, he's kind of a piece of shit.
I was gonna say,
and he was like, he's a piece of shit, and I don't ever want to fuck with him again. And he was a person that was in close proximity to him. And then like the next week, all the sexual abuse allegations came out. And it's like, yeah, man, sometimes these gats, they get a little big and they're fucking pieces of shit.
Well, to that story, what happened in Tokyo, I'm gonna shout out my man who actually runs a gallery in Hong Kong, Australian cat. He actually was here with Lister and got arrested with him too.
Oh, no shit.
I ain't gonna say my man's name, but he owns a gallery in Hong Kong.
Okay.
I love this dude. I actually bought some artwork last week from his gallery. That's my man. I know him like 5-6 years since he first got to Hong Kong.
Word.
But yeah, like I had mentioned, because I have a couple Lister drawings. So I buy, if you look at my Instagram, it says artist, collector, investor, right? So I invest money, I collect artwork, and I'm also an artist, right? So I usually buy artwork at an auction, heritage auction online, not like I'm a Sotheby's with the paddle and shit like that. So I have a couple listers. So like maybe like a year before this the situation happened, I was like, let me get something. It was like $700, $800 for like, you know, a little bit bigger than like A4 size, and I liked it. You know, I like, you know, I like how you erase things and put white out and like oil stick and everything. Like it's good. It's solid work. But then it was funny that you mentioned that story, because like my homie was with him. And he has like the prison stories and
it's fucked up.
Tokyo, I don't know if you ever been to Tokyo prison, but I've heard I have friends that have been there. They tell me stories of how they like try to keep you up at night and like like
bro.
Japan is cool and sweet, but that it ain't no Pokemon shit in prison.
They fuck with you, especially if you're a foreigner in prison. They don't make it easy for you. Like my homie was in there. He got into a fight in Shibuya, and he was in there for almost a full like 21 days, and he didn't find out because his Japanese wasn't dope.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Probably. He didn't find out. He didn't find out that like you could order better food and pay for it later until like day like 13, and he's like, damn, yo, I've been eating like fucking mad like fish head type of joints. Like you know, we recently, you know, there was a person, I want to say that they might have been Indonesian, but they died in Japanese prison recently, and it's just like Japanese prison system, and I'm saying prison system, but like this is jail. This is like, you know, this is not hard time. This is like you can be put in jail in Japan in hell for like 21 days before they charge you with anything. So one of my other homies, he fought somebody and he got put in. I'll just say his name. My homie D. He fucking He was assaulted by an old Japanese dude, defended himself, and because he wasn't Japanese, he was the one who was thrown in jail and shit.
I knew exactly who you're talking about.
No, the other story was my other homie though, my other homie. But D
I know D.
D shit was. I was like, damn, bro. You know, like Japan is pretty trash for that. But back to saying like, yeah, Anthony Lister, man, I was a fan of his like. It was a long time, and when I heard he was coming out here, my homie was one of the people that was organizing his gallery. Do you know? Fucking I Am Jesse. Jesse is done. He's a New York cat too. He's a New York cat, skater dude, old punk from back in the day. Born and raised in New York, and he did like some graffiti shits too.
Yeah. But remember, it was from a personal conversation we had the other day. I was like, he's one of those people who I've seen for like 10 years. And
never spoke to him.
And no one's bothered to introduce or say what's up.
Shit.
So of course I know who he is. I just never.
Yeah, you know, the first time I met him, he was like real, like didn't talk to me either.
Yeah. So
yeah.
No, anytime I see people in Tokyo, if you like that, I respect it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but I will go up to literally like Dre and Takini, walk around to him and say what's up to the show, like, because I just see the vibe, and it's like
word. I'm not gonna lie, I used to kind of be like that too.
Yeah, but I know who he is.
You know, one of the things too about it is that like a lot of times you get people in it, and it's kind of. It's terrible to kind of be seen as the wrong part of it, but a lot of times, man, I've been out here and I meet a lot of people who are like acting hella brand new. They might have come from a small place, but they come out here and they feel like they're big shit. Like they maybe getting some ass for the first time in their life. They feeling kind of cool and popular. They drinking. Maybe they learn how to DJ on Serato over a weekend, and now they doing shows and they think they big shit. So I used to go out and like not like I would introduce myself to people if you was talking to somebody, I introduce myself to them because we together or whatever. But like other people, I'm just like nah. And I always thought that was kind of like a runoff of like how I grew up. Like I'm not here to dap up everybody and be friendly with everybody because I don't know you. I don't know if you suck or whatever. But yeah, I've had that experience too.
But it's also like, well, if I see 6 of y'all in 05, I'm just out of respect be like, yo, what's up? My name is this, right? So it's like, okay, if you've never, but it's also this, like, there's no eye contact either. Because if I see it, but like, yo, blah, 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 I'm talking about for like 12 years.
Damn.
So I'm like, all right, like you said, it's not the principles in New York I grew up on. So when I hear that, I'm like, I don't know what part of the city that was, but whatever it is, I respect it because like.
I got this.
But yeah, I know he does his shit. Yeah.
Yeah. He
fashion, clothes, and all that shit.
He a cool cat. I appreciate him. He's a homie of mine. But yeah, you know, we all go through our trials and tribulations.
Much
and
love,
shit.
man.
Right? Yeah. No.
Next time I see you now, I'll respect him. Be like, what's up?
If you together with me, I'll make sure to introduce you guys because you know I like him.
But I think also what happens is people think I just know everybody off bat. You know what I'm saying? Because I usually do. Like I walk in, I'm like, I know Sadasa. You don't gotta say it. Yeah. So like I think people just assume, oh, you never said what's up to him? Yeah.
You know, I got a person out here. I've seen her at so many events. We've been standing in like the same circle having conversations. I never introduced myself to her, and nobody's ever introduced her to me. Yuki Beb. I've never spoken to Yuki Beb, and I've been around her.
Right there.
You know what I mean? I was at that event. I was standing talking with Phonics, Fitz, Kojo, and Kozo, and her right there, and I didn't. That's like funny. I've never dapped her up. I've never said, great set, nice to meet you, my name is Megaface. I've never spoke to her, and you know, it's nothing against her, you know what I mean, like no issues whatsoever, but we have seen each other. Even I was teaching this kid, I was teaching a podcast class, and his personal DJ teacher is her. And I was just like, yeah, I know who she is, but I don't know her. I can't call her a friend because every time I'm around her. But also it's a thing like she's like a lady face, and I don't want to, you know, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Like I was waiting for somebody to introduce us, but after like the 10th time, it just never happened. Now I just got to pretend like I don't know who she is. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it happens, man.
Yeah, well, Tokyo's a weird place.
Yeah, the life of living abroad, you know.
Yeah, like, Tokyo's a fucking weird place, but
I mean, I've had shorties I fuck with over 10 years look at me act like they don't know me. So. But no cool stories. But I mean, that's the real reason why I like Tokyo, not Hong Kong, because Hong Kong people, like I said, they'll look you right in the face and like they wasn't fucking with you last week,
Yeah.
like dead ass. And I'm
Hong
just-
Kong is like mad small. It felt small
too-
as shit
it's
to
very
me when I was
incestuous.
there, right? It's
Very
like
incestuous.
hella small.
very incestuous.
Okay.
Like everyone knows each other, and it's like, you know, if you're part of the international crowd, you only gonna hang out in a certain spot, like you know, Central, the junk boats.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna eventually run into everybody and run through everybody.
I wouldn't be surprised
know?
if you are like friends of friends with people that I've met
got
out
to,
there.
because
Yeah.
it's too
Word.
small.
Yeah, it'd be
You
like
know?
that, man.
So word. Oops.
Let me hit you with some rapid fire
All right,
questions.
let's do
You can
this.
answer like one sentence or a word or we can go off on a tangent. First question: favorite MC all time? Nas. How you feel about the King's Disease joints? You think he's recaptured the magic? Because I haven't really listened to.
I think
him
the last one was the best one.
3.
King
Okay.
3, yeah.
Okay.
King 3 was the best one
I mean, what you got a favorite Nas song? Like what song?
of all time.
Yeah.
New York State of Mind too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad choice at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you know what reminds me of my childhood? Summer, and you know, soon as The World Is Yours comes on and those keys come on, it's something about it is magic to me. That's probably my favorite Nas joint. Who's your favorite producer?
Probably Pete Rock.
Okay.
And I was gonna say, like when you said the world is yours and stuff like that, one of my favorite people I've ever met was Pete Rock, and it was like a cool little like drawing session my man used to do in Harlem, and he's old school graffiti cat, so he's like cool with Cause, like cool with Pete, and we were having, it was like 10 of us in his crib, right, just having dinner, little bites, drawing, whatever, and he came with his wife, right,
Hey.
and I'm sitting there and I'm like,
Is that Pete Rock? Is that
in my mind, I'm like, this motherfucker Pete Rock,
That's Pete Rock.
right?
Oh
So
my God,
he,
that's Pete Rock.
you know, he went around. His wife was the, you know, like, you know, she's a businesswoman, handles herself very well, beautiful woman. He came a little bit later, right? He walks in, hey babe, what's up? Then he's like, introduce himself, yo, my name is Peter and all this other shit. And you know, he came to me and said, what's up? I had to be, I was like, I know who you are, man.
Right.
You know,
no
very
shit.
low key, like mama's like, I know who you are, man.
You're like, yeah.
I didn't bother, you know, I wasn't like, well, I was just like, yo, that's
fucking Pete Rock. Yeah,
Rock,
there's you know, like I'm pretty good at not geeking out when I'm around like famous people or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are a few people that like I'm like, oh my God, that's Boston News. You know what I mean? Like, like if I saw Nas, like I'd be like, oh my fucking God, that's Nas. Like I would not interrupt his meal to be like, I love your shit, Nas.
Yeah.
But if he was around, I'd be like, oh my God, that's fucking Nas.
Yeah.
Nas is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that with Jay-Z. Like I ran into Lil Nas X at the airport, and I was just like, oh, look at Lil Nas X.
Yeah.
He's eating at McDonald's.
How was he dressed? Like red leather?
He was dressed like a regular. He didn't have like on fucking
his
assless
ass-
chaps.
his ass hanging out like Prince.
He was like, there was no like satanic blood in his Air Maxes or whatever he does. He was dressed kind of like a regular dude. Of course, you know these cats is like mad fashionable, so it's like, you know, tight jeans, like I think he had like bell bottoms on or whatever, but he wasn't wearing like a halter top or his belly wasn't out or nothing. He was just in regular clothes. And I was just like, I looked at him, I was like, yo, that fool looks like Lil Nas X. And I was like, oh shit, that is Lil Nas X. But it was Japan, so people weren't rushing up to him or anything. They probably, you know, if you light skin, they'd be like Obama. But yeah, that's it. What is a perfect album to you?
Perfect album.
Yeah, just one that you feel like no skips or it's great.
Probably Supreme Clientele.
Phenomenal choice.
Yeah.
Phenomenal choice. I love Supreme Clientele.
Yeah,
the skits
just
are a
let it
little bit
run.
played out,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Bro,
Neo,
Stroke
when
of
I
Death.
see you, I'm a
Yeah. Yeah. Favorite movie? You can rifle off a few if you want.
Favorite movie. Funny, Blade Runner. I saw the
I got the
right
cell. My
there.
homie, my homie dropped
You know,
the cell
because
out.
before I ever come to Asia, to either Tokyo or Hong Kong, like that was my idea of like all the futuristic like neon and everything like that,
Word.
right? And you know, then I moved to Hong Kong. They talk about like Kowloon Walled City and everything, and I'm just like, it's kind of cool to kind of see like where that inspiration may have come from,
Right.
You know, because I was too young to actually see it in the flesh, but like that movie was just ill on some like
It's
storyline
great.
itself,
Yeah.
but then like seeing the visuals and being like, okay, this kind of looks like Kowloon or TST and everything, like, yeah, I would say Blade Runner is probably like top favorite. Ghost, I know I made a joke about it. Patrick Swayze, Ghost for
Yeah?
some reason. Yeah,
You like Ghost?
yeah.
I'm not gonna hate on it.
I say this
I
because
don't
like
think I've seen that since I was a kid.
I'll say me and my mom used to watch it together. Like that was one of her favorite things.
Sure.
So like I always thought it was crazy. I'll say this: watching somebody get pulled down to hell, that dude Willie Lopez, that shit scared me as a little kid.
Word.
Like
Yeah.
like, so I was just like,
I feel that.
like I'm gonna go to bed early because that shit make yeah. So I think it was the way my
Yeah,
mom was like,
I feel that.
yo, 7 o'clock, go to bed. Don't they go and get you.
You know, like my mom. One of my mom's favorite movies is like The Sound of Music, and it made me appreciate music because it's like I'm trying to listen. You know, I'm like a kid. I'm trying to listen like some like The Chronic or whatever.
Yeah.
But Sound of Music, I still love that movie. I watched it with my daughter, and it made me be like, yo, fuck the Nazis. So it's similar vibes. Yeah, word. Shout out to Sound of Music. Shout out to Ghost. What's your favorite animal?
Favorite animal? I would say dog.
Okay. What's your
Yeah.
favorite dog breed?
Sounds kind of corny, but Shiba Inu.
Okay.
No,
I mean, it's a beautiful dog.
Los used to have one.
Okay.
And they're gentle, but they're strong. You ever like pet their jaw?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this shit could fuck me up.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm loyal and my tail curls.
I'm a big fan of those dogs, and also like an Akita, which is
Yeah.
like a bigger Shiba Inu.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could have any superpower, what superpower would you have?
Probably time travel, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to go back into the past and stuff like that. Like,
I'd be worried about changing the timeline. You know,
I
you
don't
ain't got
fuck
no
about
kids.
that.
Yeah, but you ain't got no kids. I don't want to fuck it up and then come back and I don't have a daughter. That's kind of the thing about me.
well, we had two.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Damn, I better get a better job. Fuck, that motherfucking shit is expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm already paying like $1,700 a month for
Well, then
fucking international school.
Yeah, you could go back and like bought Bitcoin when it was 0.222 cents.
Oh, bro,
Don't
yeah,
worry
I get
about
the
that.
sports almanac right there.
You know what? You
Yeah,
could
the
go back and
Patriots.
adopt more kids because you was clocking that Bitcoin
You're
earlier.
right.
You see?
You're right. You see, I like the way you think. Yeah, you got to
Could be like Madonna and Jolie with like 17 Ethiopian Eritrean kids.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Look at that. You can have
I'll have a little Nipsey Hustle.
Start your own damn international school.
Yeah, you goddamn right. Word. What is the worst thing about Tokyo?
Jesus Christ.
People have given answers like the weather, fucking last train.
I'll say that August here is disgusting. The humidity shit is nasty.
I'm not equipped for that.
I'll say this: over the last 19 years, I think the attitude of people have changed. The worst thing is people's nastiness.
Is that right?
It's like assuming my son don't work no more. People just lean on you in the train, and you be like trying to like, you know, like if before if you would fidget and let them know like, yo, you lean on me, they'd be like, oh, like
let me
fall
move a
back.
little
Now
bit.
it's like they like you can feel them anchoring down harder.
A little bit more callous. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, damn, you know, it's
That's
like
a good point.
a city of 30 million people doesn't work if there's no common courtesy. And
That's
to me,
right.
that was why I fell in love with the city, because 30 million people, they walk on the fucking left and they respect it. Now people walk in the middle, they bump into you, they look at you and still bump into you. And I'm like, 30 million people don't work if you want to be a fucking asshole. It doesn't. Like, this shit falls apart, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the worst thing, just to see the coldness of people.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like
feel
it's
that,
changed
yeah.
over time. Like, I thought maybe after like March 11th, shit would be cool because like, the earthquake, it got worse and it's steadily gone down since then, you know?
That's interesting.
So-
I'd have to think about that more, but I kind of feel you. Yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
feel like it's got a little bit more callous.
Like you'll say like soon my sentence, someone still won't move. It's like, well, what the fuck else can I say?
Yeah.
You know? Then it
Back
gets
the
nasty
fuck
after
up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I got some Onyx shit, right?
Yeah. right.
Gotta
Damn.
change my shirt.
I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, so-
But anecdotally, it sounds pretty right.
Yeah.
All right. Who's a dead artist that you'd want another album from? I mean, in the history of art.
What's that damn sticker? Wait. Oh, dead visual artist?
No, anybody. Yeah, I mean, visual artist, music artist,
You said
anybody.
album.
No. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Who would you want another piece from? I guess.
I'll say, all right, so I'll do music artists. I think, look, my art deals a lot with social commentary and observation. I think the voice of Pac would have been critical at this time, you know, just to see like how things have changed.
I would wonder what
his critique of Obama and everything like that,
yeah.
you know, like we ain't ready to see a
Yeah.
black president, then we did, but so the fuck what? You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting to think about because like towards the end of his career, he was really focusing on money. But if you go back like 2 years before he died, he's talking about economic inequality. He's talking about socialism. He's talking about, you know, actual radical politics. And I mean, I guess after, you know, he got to death row, you know, he spiraled in a different direction. But that's like one of the great like what ifs to me. Like, what would Tupac be doing? I kind of feel like he would have transitioned out of music. Because, you know, he was an artist.
Yeah.
You know, I can see him becoming like a producer in a movie, or a serious movie actor, or a serious activist even. Like, you know, one of the people who is a Patreon on our channel is No Name. And, you know, she's a phenomenal artist. But a few years ago, she was like, I'm having a hard time reconciling the idea that my art is being like apprehended and taken in by all of these white faces who don't appreciate blackness and don't, you know, I don't want to misquote her or anything, but that was kind of the impetus. But, you know, I can imagine maybe, well, I wonder if Tupac reaches those levels, you know, like if Tupac, if he becomes more radical or if he becomes more liberal, you know, that's, damn, we were alive where were you when Tupac died? I mean, New York, but do you remember like the day? Because I do.
Well, see, I think for me, I remember Biggie because it was like,
that's your champion.
Well, no, I mean he got shot at night, so it was already something a.m. New York time. Then when he died, it was like I'm headed to school in New York.
I skipped school that day. That was the first time I ever.
I was already on my way, so I couldn't. But the thing about Pac is like, all right, he died like 6 days later, so you're like, oh, he got shot, he's gonna eat this one like he did last one. So it was more like, really? Like, what the fuck?
Damn. Yeah, I was a surprise.
You had time to like, we had time to like transition to it.
Brace for impact.
He's in the hospital. Yeah. He's critical. Biggie was like, went to bed, woke up, and he's dead.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened for us. Yeah. I mean, like, even on the West Coast, like, we got to the bus station, and we're all like, yo, did you hear Biggie died? It's like, yo, it's all on MTV News or whatever. And we were just like, fuck, yo. Like, and I think I was in, like, 7th grade or 8th. I must have been in 8th grade. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to school today. And we didn't go to school. That was the first time I ever ditched school, like, to you know, not trying to pretend to be sick for my mom. Like, but, yeah, man, what a time. Tupac is such a tremendous artist.
Well, I think the thing with Big is, and then they had his funeral in Brooklyn, right? Where like they brought him through the street in Brooklyn like that. Yeah, the city. I mean, all right, because it was the second rapper that died, right? Yeah. It was just like, all right, so what the hell is happening to all these people, you know? So it was. Biggie was more impactful. Pac was like, what? Is he in Cuba? Is he this or that? But Biggie's like, no, he died.
There were a lot of conspiracy theories for a long time, especially because, you know, like after that, like even before Big died, like Machiavelli came out. And so it was like, yo, did he know? Like, what's going on? Like, it almost seemed like it was like cryptic messages and shit. But Biggie was very real.
Yeah, it was just like, nah.
Biggie was very final. Yeah. Damn.
So,
we old as fuck, dog.
We are.
Bro,
we are.
It's
true,
we old, yeah, shout out. I mean, like, 20, like, I'm past my 20-year fucking high school reunion. You know what I mean? Like, both of us, right. If you were on a desert island and you could have all the music from any two artists, who would you have on this desert island? Meaning you get the features, you get the remixes, you get all of it.
Only artists?
Two
artists.
Two musical artists.
Damn. I would say Nas. I mean, I got the shirt on. Any genre?
Yeah. I picked one of my choices was Miles Davis. I'm a jazz guy.
Damn. Okay. Maybe Nina Simone.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Like when I found out like Cinnamon and shit like that, like that song, like before the Talib Kweli, you know, flip of it and stuff like that, like, man, that if you listen to that song, it's 10 minutes. That's a masterpiece, man.
She is. She's
maybe some Nina Nas.
She's incredible. True revolutionary, true radical. Yeah, incredible.
Mississippi, goddamn.
Perfect. So Nas and Nina. That's.
I think she perfectly encapsulates her time. You know what I'm saying? Like, Nina was a product of her time.
Yeah.
You know, she has a very interesting like love life. She was Pan-African, and then she was like, nah, I'm out. I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So she had beef with like Miriam Makeba real quick. So it was like she was definitely a woman of her time and her age. You know, and I think, you you can't create art like timeless art unless you're out there seeing what's happening in that time
Right.
period. You know what I'm saying?
The material conditions of your time.
Yeah.
If
The
if
political,
they're expressed,
economic,
yeah.
social, like you have
Yeah.
to be, with the shits, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the life story of Nina is
Yeah.
very interesting, man.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
Definitely a champion. Yeah, like Baltimore. Man, she's just
Yeah.
In fact, after this I might listen to some Nina Simone, just because like I kind of feel like maybe I've been tripping. I didn't listen for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like a couple of months or whatever. But
Get yourself right.
yeah. You know what I mean? Set the mood. Cold water or room temperature drinking.
To drink?
Yeah.
Still cold water, man.
Okay.
I haven't adapted to that Asian hot water shit like
Yeah, I like my cold too. You know what I mean? Like
Sumi
cold.
Thai,
Yeah. I
Sumi
don't,
Thai.
especially like on hot days. Like I don't. Yeah, absolutely cold. Even in the winter, I'll take it cold. Day or night.
Oh, I'm a night owl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hot or cold?
Oh, hot. I can't do cold, man.
I am the weirdest motherfucker. I grew up in Southern California, Hawaii, but I prefer the cold. I think Tokyo changed me.
Damn.
That those August fucking humidity, and like when you live in other places, you hop it. You walk downstairs, get into the car, drive to the store, walk into the store, air condition. You know what I mean? But out here, walking all the time, I despise the hot weather. I'm all about cold weather now. I love hoodie season. Yeah, easily. Blind or deaf?
Which one would I rather be?
Yeah, if you had to. Obviously, it's not a
Deaf,
dope
deaf,
thing.
deaf.
Deaf?
Yeah, I can't. I could
Paint,
paint if I was
yeah.
blind. Yeah. It's like
Well, yeah. Of course, you're an artist. Like for me, I
I'm
just
paint
feel
in
like
Braille.
yeah. I mean, yeah. You might figure it out. Like you start, like ghosts, just start shaping
red-
pottery and
Yeah,
what
red feels like black. There's no bumps.
right. Yeah, you can't figure it out and shit. Yeah. What is your most valuable possession? And this doesn't
Damn.
necessarily mean like monetary, but just kind of like something that means a lot to you.
My most valuable possession is my hands. I can't make anything without my hands, man. So
Word.
like, yeah, I mean, eyesight. Of course, you can't be completely
Right.
blind and paint. I mean, you can, but like, part of the process of painting is seeing the
Yeah.
finished product, right? So
Yeah.
it would suck if I couldn't see what the hell I was doing. But yeah, my hands.
Yeah, word.
Like like you see some people, old age shaky on the Muhammad Ali shit.
Yeah.
It's like I can't imagine like not being in full control
Yeah.
of my output.
word.
Because it's very personal, it's very intimate. So
I thought about removing that question from the question list. So I'm not sure if I should or not, because it always gets like a deep, profound answer and shit. I don't know if the rapid fire joints is supposed to be deep, profound answers. I don't know. I do like to give people the opportunity to ask me a question at the end of this.
yeah.
Do you have a question for me? It could be something simple like this or something complex. No pressure.
Why for the last week you've been wearing that hat like you're a fucking Uber driver?
This one? I wore a beanie yesterday.
Ah, fuck
yeah.
with it.
Oh,
fuck
I
with
actually am. I'm gonna try to get money. I got a homie that's a taxi driver out here. It sounds ill. My Japanese is not good enough.
Okay.
But yeah. This is my little rascal shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that the question?
No. The real question was how you feel about density.
Pause. Pause.
See, he said it.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said it.
Pause. No, we had a really fun and engaging conversation about the word density.
This was
recently.
Mega a couple days ago on
Yeah.
the train to
Three stations. Yeah. I was hot.
That's Mr.
I was
Three.
big mad.
That was Mr. Three Stations. This
Yeah.
was him. If
I was
you could
big
picture Mega.
And I had a pink beanie on with it. Word.
Oh man,
It made us better friends.
with that upholstery, the bubble coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all fly,
I thought we was going to do
acting
something
like
big.
this, acting like this.
Yeah, it was problematic. People,
density. It was a
people
dense
tell me
conversation. It was
people tell
dense.
me when I drink, sometimes I have hostile energy, and I believe them. And I don't know. I'm a product of my environment. It's being around guys like this.
Man.
But yeah, pause.
Nah, man. Real question. Okay, let me get real with it. I think you also have an interesting background, especially like your ethnic makeup and stuff like that. How has Japan allowed you to see yourself differently in relation to who you are, how you move around the world? 'Cause I think growing up in America, like we're taught we're number one, the best fucking country and everything. Is like we can't see outside of our bubble sometimes until like you've been living here now 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been running out the country like for 16 years now. Like it's definitely like, you know, what's the pros and the cons. So how has stepping away helped you to see who you are?
You know, I think I got a lot of different like points to answer about this. Of course, like now I have a daughter. Already I'm ethnically ambiguous, but my daughter doesn't look black at all. And so that kind of informs like my relationship to the world with her a little bit differently. Like she can't ever drop the N-bomb to me. You know what I mean? Like I guess she has enough claim to do it or whatever, but I would not support that. But one of the things that I noticed about blackness is that when I came out here, I had a very westernized view of blackness, and it was very it was very kind of American centric. And when I started talking to cats from all different parts of Africa, and you know, I had, like I said, I work at a Jamaican dance hall for like 4 years bartending on the weekends, so I knew mad cats from outside of America, but that didn't change kind of my perspective, because I think we're all on the same wavelength. When I talk to black people from Africa, their views on the issues that black people in America face from racism tend to be a little bit different and a little bit nuanced in a different way that is not entirely dependent on racism. They view it as like hegemonic superstructure of oppression, that the poverty is the biggest problem. Poverty and corruption is the biggest problem. When I talk to African cats, they're like, yeah, I mean, like, it's not police brutality when the cop is black is still fucking police brutality. And and I have to say that my politics and my thoughts on blackness have changed because the diverse group of black people that I encounter here. Like, yo, you know, I don't have a lot of Nigerian homies, but I've got homies from all other different parts of Africa, Senegal, you know, just all over the place. And man, when you start talking to them about issues in America, they're like, man, shut the fuck up. Like y'all are whining about a little bit too much here and not focus on like economic inequality in the right way. So I think that it really made me realize that like black people in America, we can act just like white people when it comes to trying to be like, we know better than you. We're right.
I think that's the biggest complaint. Like, so I've been to Senegal, I've been to Egypt, been to Nigeria. I think the biggest problem I hear is that is like, y'all act like white people with black skin. Yeah. You know, and like like you said, we're products of our environment, and I think, yeah, being from America, you can't see outside yourself to see how you reproduce those things of oppression and those entitlements. You go to another place. Like, I remember the first time I went to France was 2003. I was 19. I'm just like, why do these motherfuckers don't speak English? It's just that entitlement, right? It's just like, that's what a white motherfucker does, right? What's Australia? He's like, why these Aboriginals don't fucking speak, you know, James Cook type shit,
you know
right?
What I mean? Yeah.
So it's the same thing where you're just like, whoa, what gives you the right to say on demand, you know, tend to me, you know, in my language, in my vocabulary. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's for a variety of reasons, right? First off, it's material conditions. We feel that we're having a unique experience because America is the dominant Western hegemon. Like, we kind of shaped the world after World War II. You know, after the fall of the Soviet Union, it's like only capitalism is the only way to proceed forward. And America is like the head HNIC when it comes to that shit. The dollar is the primary foundation of the global economics. We've transitioned to like global neoliberalism, and black people in America are the ones that were, you know, the profits, and the way that the world in America was able to develop was off the backs of like black people and the indigenous people. So we kind of feel like, oh yeah, well, America, we got the idea right. Like, we know, but we have just like we don't know fucking geography. We have very little idea what material conditions in the world are, and any views outside of like what we've been propagandized to believe. I talk to Americans, and Americans are like, oh man, you got to watch out for China. China's going to attack us any day now. I'm like, bro, like, who have they been imperializing? Like, Taiwan is China, you know that, right? And it's just like,
but also like,
how many military bases is China surrounding America with?
But they've been like Taiwan became what it was because of the West interfering with like the Qing dynasty. Like China ended the dynasty regime in the 1940s because Britain and America and they were fucking with starting with Hong Kong and Macau and like the whole Guangdong province. So a lot of these issues, North Korea, South Korea, why is it split?
Yeah.
Forgot about that Korean War. So a lot of the shit that's happening is because of the interference of others. You know, so
well, you look at socialist countries never work out. It's like name me one that hasn't seen a CIA coup. You know, it's like like the living conditions in Cuba are terrible. It's like, well, are you aware of like U.S. embargoes and sanctions and like the Middle East is fucking in other fucking democratic disarray because of what reasons? And people have a hard time seeing outside of looking at history from outside of the propaganda that we are so subjected to in the United States. Like America, they're like, oh yeah, we're democratic, we've got two parties, people's votes count and shit. Like, really? You know what I mean? Like, aren't they all kind of on the same page when it comes to most of the policy ideas that most affect the world? Like, the rest of the shit is just like, it's just opulence. Like, you have the illusion of choice. Like, this president, every single president that we've had since like Carter has been a neoliberal in terms of their economic policy and very imperialistic. It's weird. It's weird to think outside of that. And it took me a long time to like actually look into China. Up to like 5 years ago, I was like, I don't know what the fuck China's going to do, but you better be careful. You better watch out. I started reading about it. I'm like, damn, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about with this shit. And most people don't.
Trust me, like the average Chinese person in China don't think about what the fuck America's doing or their downfall or anything like that. They're just happy to be themselves. So, it's just a mind fuck getting out that bubble.
No
so
doubt.
like, I was just asking like, how have you seen yourself in a different light outside of that? Because I think that's the most profound thing. It's different when I travel a lot. I do 2 weeks and I come back. I do Tulum, I come back. When you don't see that shore for 3-4 years at a time, then you really know what it is not to be filtering your thoughts through that prism. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting because like also I feel more black here because I consciously seek out areas to help like uplift black people. I'll be at the Legacy Lounge. I like to highlight black folks' art here, and I'm a Pan-African socialist, so I'm constantly looking at Africa and looking at their political development. But I also feel less black here because I guess like my racial makeup, I feel kind of separated from any like monolithic idea of blackness. My dad is black and Native American. He comes from the slave trade. They escaped, they joined the tribe and shit, and that's black as fuck. Like, if you're talking about it even on like an epigenetic level, it's like, motherfuckers was slaves, like we came over, so I have the same epigenetic memory that you might have when it comes to that type of suffering, which I don't necessarily buy into. But on top of that, like, I'm Filipino too, which is like an immigrant, and because I'm like black, Native American, and I look ethnically ambiguous, I kind of feel like a man without a country here. I kind of feel like a man without a country because I'm like, I'm black as fuck too, but it's like, oh yeah, but I'm like this type of black, you know what I mean? And it's like when I meet other black folks, it's like, oh yeah, you black as fuck too, but oh, you're that type of black. And I feel like the monolithic idea I had about like black culture is kind of like dissolved a lot, and maybe that has to do with my politics too, but I don't know. Like, your hair is curly as fuck. Like, you say you're Puerto Rican, but like, what kind of Puerto Rican? Is that like Afro-Latino Puerto Rican? Is that like indigenous? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? I have no idea.
I feel like that's become like a Basquiat thing. Like, Afro-Latino means nothing,
right?
Because it's been. See, a lot of it is how do your genetics present themselves, right? Because people might have more like blood quotient than I do. Yeah. African blood, but be European presenting, right? As a Latino. So it's like, I think a lot of we get bogged down in like how it manifests itself, right? I don't tell people what the hell to categorize themselves, but like, you know, if you say certain things or subscribe to certain things, like you might have to pull your card out and show why. You know, especially certain words and stuff like that, because
you know, you can't be, you know, running for president of the United States saying you Native American. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I mean, I think we're all social creatures. We become habituated to, you know, what our culture is from, you know, our environment and everything, right? So it's like, you know, when you adopt certain characteristics that aren't native to you and your experience, and it's kind of like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it because it's cool to do it, or are you doing it because you're expressing your actual lived experience? And that's when I have that happens a lot in art. You know, whatever's the wave, whatever's the cool aesthetic, like people try to run with it because it's that click culture, right? It's like, I need the likes and the views. This is hot. I'm a jacket. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that kind of has like that's the kind of world we live in. Even when it comes like, oh, your hair's done a certain way, I'm a jacket. This slang, I'm a jacket. Like everything is everything and nothing at the same time.
Right.
So it's just like,
well, you know, there's like it's a very postmodern thing for this identitarianism to take hold of the entire cultural consciousness of America. People are so interested in defining who they are down to like the smallest fucking aspects of it. So, you know, you've got people who are, you know, really into finding out their genetic background by actually doing tests, but then you've got people who identify as these social constructs like non-gender binary, black, white, fucking Latinx, left-handed, and this hierarchy of privileges and things, and people want to categorize that. And it's a nasty combination when you're also trying to brand yourself as something online. Like like, this is how I want to present myself. We've turned ourselves into like products in a way where it's like, yo, click on me, like you're gonna get this, and who I am is not here, it's right here. And that combination of like essentialism, identitarianism, and neoliberal like marketing, that convergence creates some really fucking nasty shit. Like people fucking faking who they are, or people being so much who they are that it makes it difficult for you to address them because you make mistakes in how you address them and shit.
I mean, I had a situation like a week ago. One of my really good friends spoke a certain way online to me, and I went at their neck, like, because I'm just like, I don't play games like that, right? And it was a cultural thing. She you know, she had went to school in New York, but she's culturally Japanese, Chinese, whatever, right? And I'm like her senpai. She's a younger artist doing her thing. And then I met up with her yesterday or 2 days ago here in Tokyo, and I could tell it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? She just used a word that she thought was cool, but it doesn't translate really, right? And also she had been like ducking and dodging me like online. I was in Hong Kong, and she didn't make time because she's in London studying. So I felt a certain way, and then you saying these certain things. It's kind of like misunderstanding between me and you. It's like, all I see is this, and then you're adding to it with the way you're saying. I can only think it means this, right? Yeah. And it's just like, but a lot of what I was getting is like, I see how you acting online with others. I don't play that. Like, I don't mediate my online. Like, if you leave me a comment, I'm gonna answer you. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's a gallery, I'm gonna answer you. I don't know who you are. F you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna just be social. If I'm gonna be social, I'm gonna be social. I'm gonna be courteous, respectful. If you're being funny, then F you. But like, I'm a respond to you, right? So like, I just misinterpreted things because like we mediate ourselves in a different way, and like, I'm online and offline. I try to be the same, but kids who grew up on this don't do that. So it's weird.
It's challenging,
like,
man.
Yeah, it's like we have these like split cyber and offline personalities. And I'm just like, whoa. You know, sometimes I have to step back and realize like how other people deal with this platform. You know?
Yeah, I try to disabuse myself from a lot of social media. Like when I get on Instagram now, I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's like I scroll and it's like suggested person, advertisement, and it's like every 3 people that I actually follow, it's like 3 people I know advertisement suggested person. I'll be looking at some shit like, yo, who is this? Like, I don't like, damn, that looks dope. And then I'm like, oh, this is a suggested human being. Like, this is not somebody even in my circle.
Yeah.
It's weird to navigate social media, and I'm not so old that I'm against it, but I have to disabuse myself from a lot of this shit. Even on Facebook, I start scrolling and it's just like suggested page, suggested group. Do you want to add these people as your friends? I'm just like, bro, like I have almost no, like, it's like if every time that you try to meet your friend, somebody came up and offered you like a fucking, you know, like, can I get you something?
Yeah.
Here's something. It's like, bro, I'm trying to look at my friend's photo album of him. This is a intimate, like, we're friends. Yeah. And then it's like somebody just fucking with you all the time. I can't handle this shit. Yeah. And the only place I go online is like Reddit, because Reddit I get an advertisement, but I got my certain groups that I go to for news or for music or for whatever, and it's just not as like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Those things are, yeah, I'm glad I'm not an artist that has to be more involved. Like Spade and Jet are like, yeah, you gotta put the, you know, post the video on Instagram and shit. I'm like, nah, it's like, if they find us, they find us. I'm just gonna have to live my life different. But yeah, I don't know. We don't have to go too deep down a rabbit hole. I really did enjoy this conversation with you, and I feel like you know, as long as I've known you, this is the first time that I've really got to know you, and we really got to have some serious conversations. I want to commend you again on your art, and I'm looking forward to seeing your growth and more work. And eventually, when I get my money right, I would like to buy a piece myself. But go ahead and give a shout out again where we can find you online.
Okay, so IG Caban Ichiban, CABAN_ICHIBAN, and also my website, Nelson Caban, NELSONCABAN.com. Damn, I almost forgot my first name.
right.
Because in Japan it's like Nair-san, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I was about to say it in a Japanese accent because you got to kind of, the L is a little tricky here. Yeah.
Yeah, word. The L is very tricky.
It's very tricky.
Yeah,
so.
Word.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you guys found a lot of this entertaining. Please go follow him on Instagram and check out his work. And Secret House Against, Mega Late Show, Tokyo Hip Hop Art and Culture. Much love to you.
Peace.
Background beats by Il Sugi.